Apparently today I'm going to talk about student loans. But this was actually what I was more concerned about today. What was I going to wear? And I kind of threw this in last minute because this is a very important decision. This is a TEDx event. You have to know what you're going to wear, what the audience is going to see when you're on stage. And the reason that I put so much thought into this is because I didn't want people to have preconceived notions about who I was or what I was going to talk about before I even said it. So I thought if I wore a t-shirt, am I going to be too casual, too unprofessional? People won't think I have the ethos necessary to convince you that my ideas are interesting. Or if I wore a dress shirt and dress pants, would you think that I'm fiscally irresponsible and just spend money on too much, expensive clothing? This was a debate that I had with myself for 2 hours today. And so I went for the medium. You got the jeans and you got the dress shirt. So I hope you're pleased with my decision. Thank you. That'll be my next TED Talk, how to dress for a TED Talk. So I want to take you back in time, if I could, to a young middle school stud who happens to not have hit his growth spurt yet and who had no idea that one day he would not only be giving a TED Talk and would not only know so much about student loans, but would be in a massive amount of debt. My name is Matt Panzano. I'm a Florida high school teacher, proud public high school teacher, and I'm over $70,000 in student loan debt. This cute little kid never thought that that would be possible. You see, this cute little kid, his grandfather was an immigrant from Italy. He was a stonemason. He worked with his hands a lot and built some of the foundational buildings that the state of New Jersey still keeps as a landmark today. My father, his son, sold software for most of his life. Now, my father went to vocational school. So he would go to high school for half the day and then learned how to work computers. It was a very common system back then. So he never had to go to college because ultimately he knew a skill and ended up working for Microsoft for about 9 years. My mother had a job a week out of high school. So as soon as she graduated, she went right into the workforce. And it took her over 20 years to save up enough to finally be able to go to college on her own. Student loan, debt-free. No student loans necessary for any of those three parties, two of which because they never needed to go to college, one of which because by the time that she did go to college, she had saved up enough. But I'm not in that boat. You see, I was the first person in my family to attend a 4-year formal university. The whole shebang. Dorm rooms, living costs, textbooks, 4 years of tuition, and then 1 of grad school. I did what a lot of people can't do. I got a master's degree in less than 1 year. But it was because I saw the cost looming above my head about what it would cost if I stayed longer. Now, of course, I say the number over $70,000 in debt, and I saw some of your faces. You went, whoa, what was he spending his money on in college? Right? And it's actually the #1 rhetoric that people use, for people that are in student loan debt. They're fiscally irresponsible. They shopped around for their major too much, and they didn't decide what they had to do. It's their fault. We've heard the argument before. Or the other argument, you say, well, they should have known what they were getting into. Yes, an 18-year-old should have known when they were signing the dotted line for a $40,000 student loan what they were getting into. I teach high school. You try to keep an 18-year-old's attention for more than 5 minutes, and you deserve a medal. So going into that, let's take a look at what the student loan debt actually is, right? Why do people take out loans? Well, you have to think about all of the costs that go into college, right? This cute little kid never knew that. He never knew that he would have to buy textbooks brand new, and there were no choices there because the professor wrote the book, and there's a CD that comes with the book, and you don't have an option to buy a used book because it's a one-time use CD that the professor wrote, so you have to pay $600 if you want to pass the class. But that's just college, right? My father was part of the baby boomer generation, as was my mother. They both told me, you should go to college. And they weren't wrong. I love being a teacher. It was what I wanted to do since I was a sophomore in high school, and I made that dream come true. But not everyone's ready to make that decision yet. He certainly wasn't. So we have to look at how much we value the allowance of curiosity, how much we value allowing people that go into college to explore what they want to do, because some people just don't know. And is it their fault? Should we be blaming them? Should I feel ashamed that I took out student loans to achieve my dream? So, fast forward a little bit. We have a program in America called the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program, or the PSLF. You're going to hear a lot of acronyms when it comes to student loans. My job here is to educate you on that. That's what I do best. Public Service Loan Forgiveness says that if you serve your country as a public servant for 10 years and you make 120 payments consistently and you don't miss a single one, that your student loans, whatever is left, will be forgiven. That's what they say. Well, in America, we're the land of the free, but we're not the land of free higher education. It costs money to learn. And once you're at a public school, it's on you if you want to learn more. Now, learning comes in various forms, right? I'm talking about paying for college credits. But there's various entities. You could be in a technical college if you wanted to. You could learn a skill, right? You could follow someone and get an apprenticeship. Now, some of that will cost money for living costs, etc., but it's not the college cost. But keep in mind, my generation was told you have to go to college to get a job. You have to go to college. It was instilled in us. It was drilled in us that we must go to college. There are no other options. You either can go to college, go into the military, or get a job. But college is the best option for you. This is what we were told. Now, I understand, having traveled a lot, there are many other countries out there who have free higher education. Case in point, Germany just made this a policy. Well, yes, their taxpayers do have to pay more. There's no such thing as a free lunch. This is a basic economics lesson that you'll learn at some point when you pay for your college credits and you get an economics professor, that woke up at 7:20 and he teaches at 7:30. You'll understand when you get there. But the thing is, the lesson is true. There is no such thing as a free lunch. Well, insert the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. Now, this was implemented under the Bush administration, and they said 10 years ago that yes, this will work. As long as you serve your country, this will work, and we will take care of you. Well, 2 weeks ago, this article came out from the LA Times. Something happened there that we're not entirely sure what went wrong. You see, 99% of people that applied for the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program were denied their public loan forgiveness. And so let's go a little bit more into detail there, right? Over 41,000 people filled out the applications, and of that, only 423 people out of a country that has over 327 million people in it, of which over 62 million people have student loans, 423, period, had their loans forgiven. Now, there's various entities, of course. Some people filled out the paperwork wrong. That was about 11,000 people that filled out the paperwork wrong, because they probably spelled their names wrong or what have you. Some people just didn't qualify because they missed one of their 120 payments. Payment 67 was a little late, so they got denied. And the federal government, because the Forbes article that I read also had another one that was an opinion piece. And in the opinion piece, the gentleman said, well, we expected this. We expected some backlash. We expected that the federal government was going to see a lot of rejection. And so the federal government is very graciously allowing people to refill out their forms and submit them again. Now, I don't know if you know how bureaucracy works, but I've been to the Capitol, I've talked with politicians, I've fought for rights. It takes a while for things to move through. So while people are resubmitting their paperwork, they have to keep making those student loan payments over and over and over that they thought were going to be forgiven. And as that happens, interest is going to build, interest is going to build. Because that's the vicious cycle of these student loans. There's two kinds, and I have to educate you on this. You have subsidized and unsubsidized loans. Subsidized means we're not going to charge you any interest, so just sign the dotted line for $40,000, and there won't be any interest until you graduate. But the second you cross that stage, get ready, folks, buckle up. Unsubsidized means as soon as you sign on that dotted line and you go through your college semester, we're going to start charging you interest. Now, if you graduate and can't find a job right away, so you're unemployed or you're underemployed, meaning you can't make payments on those student loans, that interest is going to build and build and build. And so by the time you're able to actually start making payments, you're only paying off interest and nothing of the loan itself. But, you know, enough fancy terms, right? Let's just break it down to numbers. In 2013, we topped off at $1 trillion in student loan debt. $1 trillion. Okay, 8th grade me thought that was a made-up number. $1 trillion? I didn't think anything could actually get to a level where we go, oh, okay, a trillion, wow. And no one seems fazed by that, which is, you know, a little disturbing. But here's the best part. Currently in 2019, we're up to $1.52 trillion. In 6 years, we have gone up $520 billion in student loan debt. We have surpassed credit card debt. And now student loan debt is second only to mortgages as the number 2 in terms of debt for our country. $1.52 trillion. No wonder the article calls it a crisis. This is an economic crisis. My job is to teach you about the costs of curiosity because, as it turns out, people are punished for wanting to explore what they could do, especially when they've taken on that student loan. Now, okay, I see some of you. You're panicking, right? You're him. I see it, right? And what are we going to do? I have 2 ideas that I'd like to propose to you. Depending on your point of view, you know, and this is where the curiosity point comes in, I want you to think about what would be best for you, not anyone else. Now, if you have student loans, really quick, if you have student loans, could you just raise your hand? We'd see. Okay, so a couple of people, right? Some of you were like, well, I was thinking about it, but now that I've seen you, I don't know. But that's okay. And that's okay. You know what? Pursue your dreams. That's what I'll tell you. Pursue your dreams. But I have 2 ideas I'd like to present to you, and they're very simple to understand. Idea number 1. This actually stems from conversations that I had with my friends that either don't have student loans or worked a part-time or full-time job during college to pay for their college, or they were in the military and they paid for it with their GI Bill, which is very possible. So they reached out to me. You know, I blasted social media a couple of months ago, and I said, hey, I'm going to do this TED Talk. What do you think? And I was also very privileged last month. I was able to go to 11 colleges and universities on the Northeast coast, specifically some of the Ivy League colleges. And what I learned about was this concept: need-blind and need-based admission into colleges. Now, need-blind, just so you know, It means that they are not going to look at your financial status when you apply for one of these colleges. Need-based is exactly what it is. It's if you need money based on the income of your parents, then it will be granted to you. Now, the three I had in mind were Harvard, Yale, and Brown, specifically Brown. You see, Brown University, if you make less than $100,000, your parents' income combined, you have a very high chance of getting almost a full ride to Brown University. That was something I never dreamed of when I was in college. I never thought that I could get to that level or get that financial aid. So the idea struck me like a bolt of lightning. After speaking with the other side, the ones that don't have loans, and by visiting the universities, because I wanted to make sure I did my homework before I gave this talk. And so here's my thought. What if every university were forced to be need-blind and need-based? Meaning that every single university in the United States could only accept people based on their meritocracy, and we could look at how much they needed, and the university would have to pay it. Now, there's a couple of consequences. First off, I want to clarify, because a lot of people would accuse me of saying, well, I'm robbing people of opportunity to go to college. I'm actually not, and here's why. If we were to make everything need-blind and need-based, so colleges are paying for most of your tuition, then we are going to get the top minds and the brightest academia going to these colleges and universities, and the admission rates, yes, would plummet initially. Brown, I believe, only has like a 9% admissions rate out of all the applicants that apply to Brown. That would look the same across the board for every university. Now, in turn, the universities are going to be making money off of people that have their tuition paid. They make money off of tuition. So what they'd have to do after a time is eventually lower the tuition costs. And they might need to have a conversation with those professors that are charging $600 for the book and the CD and go, listen, calm down, right? That would eventually lower, which would in turn provide more opportunity for people to go to college and not necessarily have to take out student loans because tuition and textbooks came down. In addition to that, for everyone that was denied for the colleges, it may push them into a different career, like a technical college, where they could make $50,000 instead of owing $50,000. And I'm talking jobs like electricians and welders. And we're going to need plumbers unless humans stop using the bathroom, which, would be news to me. You're going to need those jobs. So it would actually create more of a market for that and have less student loan debt. Now, that would please my friends that don't have the student loan debt. They're the ones that are telling me, yes, look at the job market. People should be more responsible. They shouldn't shop around for majors for too long. They need to know what the job market is like. Well, nobody knows what the job market is like until you're in the job market. You still have to interview for the job. You still have to get the job. And there's more than one person going for each job. I talked with my friend who worked his way during college. He said, well, I had this job, I paid for everything, why can't everyone do that? Because there's not enough jobs to serve everyone to do that. That's why. Not everyone can do that. And to the third friend who was in the military, I respect the military. I love the fact that we have people willing to serve. But not everyone is a soldier. So you can't make that argument for every single person. And the military is not going to accept every single person. Now, this idea would work. But I'm not actually a fan of that idea. I wanted to put the idea out to you because it's nice to have options. I'm actually in favor of idea number 2. Those of you that know me know that I am a capitalist. And I love capitalism. I love the idea that if you want to create an app that delivers burgers and tacos to your friends and you can make money off of that, you should do it. That makes sense. You should be able to earn profit for what you work for. Absolutely. So my second idea is actually to double down on American free enterprise. Double down on what we consider to be public service. You see, I am considered to be a public servant under the public service loan forgiveness because I'm a teacher. I serve a public need. But you know what? I also used to be a waiter when I was in college. Isn't that providing a service to the public? When I asked people if they wanted a Sierra Mist, isn't that providing a service to the public? And sometimes it was the public that I didn't necessarily want to deal with, but they were assigned to my table, and I provided them service. If you've ever been in the food industry, you know exactly what I mean when I say that is some of the toughest public service that you could ever do. So isn't that considered to be public service? We need to redefine public service because here's what will happen. If we look at every single job that in some way stimulates the American economy, that somehow contributes to our gross domestic product, our GDP, and we consider that to be public service, then everyone could apply to the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. And when everyone can apply for it, no one needs to apply for it. Because all you would have to do is make 10 years of payments consistently, follow the rules, but as long as you have an American job stimulating the economy in some way, then you should be able to apply or get public service loan forgiveness. Because if we don't, this is going to be an economic catastrophe. It's already happening. People can't buy homes. The real estate market is severely affected by this, though it doesn't know it yet. Soon we'll be at the point where people won't even be able to go out to eat because they don't have money to do so. I have friends, colleagues that live with their parents because they cannot afford rent and their student loan payments, which is only interest. You remember that vicious cycle we talked about earlier. This is the reality of it. And if you don't believe me, I'd like to show you a short clip. And to give you some backstory on this, there's two names I want you to remember, Alan de Oliveira and Hannah Mitchell, two names that you're going to hear very often in the future. They were two UCF students. And when I said I was doing this TED Talk, we all put a blast on social media, and we requested people to say, what do you do, or what are you planning to do? How much student loan debt do you have? And how many years is it going to take you to pay these off?
Hello, my name is Elizabeth Salvatierra.
Dakota.
Mahaley,
Jacob.
Lacey,
Sayaka,
Emily, Chloe,
Isabella,
Brandon.
Grace,
Gerardo. Michael Desmond.
I am a post-production operations coordinator,
Work in vacation sales.
Server at Bubblegum Shrimp Company.
voice teacher,
engineer,
Assistant editor. Actor.
high school teacher.
I make about a little less than $40,000 a year.
$35,000 a year.
$62,000.
Around $15,000.
$45,000 a year.
And my current loan is $27,210.05.
$12,000 debt.
$40,000.
$12,036.46.
$50,000.
$26,026.25.
$30,000.
$27,070.99 as my loans.
$40,000 in student loans right now.
$26,000.
$55,000.
$17,897.74.
$25,000, $739.88 in student loan debt.
$22,900.
$21,575.13.
$22,025.29.
$24,403.20.
$30,000. $48,051.93.
$28,581.51. It would take me 46 to 50 years to pay it off.
With its projected payback rate, I would be paying them off for at least 15 years.
23 to 24 years.
I'll be done in around 8 years.
Don't know when or if I'll ever pay it all off.
I have not even graduated yet, but I'm expecting to pay it off in about 20 years.
I do not know how long it is going to take me to pay off that amount since I work based off tips.
27 years to pay off.
12 and a half years to pay off.
30 years to pay off that at its most optimistic.
7 years to pay it off at my current rate.
A little over 20 years to pay off.
At my current rate, it will take me about 100 years to pay it completely off.
My name is Dakota. I'm 21 years old. I'm a game design student at UCF. I currently have $12,000 in debt, and this projected payback rate I will be paying to
20 random people, most of which have jobs, and based on the definition that we said before, they serve the public. We need to look at this before it becomes a catastrophe. But if that didn't convince you, I'm more of a visual person. Let's say each one of these little beads represented $2 million in student loan debt. Let's say each little bead represented $2 million in student loan debt. This is what we're dealing with. A country that calls itself the greatest in the world cannot have this at its feet. If we are to take control of this situation, then we need to look at the loan servicers, Navient, SoFi, Credible.com, FedLoans.gov, all of the ones that are saying that they're solving the problem, and start pointing the fingers. You cannot have an economic crisis at your feet like this and call yourself the greatest nation in the world when you're telling people that can't get out of that vicious cycle to solve it themselves. It starts with an idea, just like every fire starts with a spark. Be the spark. Thank you very much.